Hey, everybody, welcome back to the OG's Power Hour. John's on chorus is here for the next while, so he was saying he might pop in and say hi. But we've got Tony here, and we're going to talk a little bit about daylight savings time and the effects on us, on our grow, etc. So, Tony, what are your feelings on this crazy thing? Flipping an hour a month or an hour twice a year. Oh my gosh.
Well, for me, like if it was just personal, it wouldn't matter. But for like garden and agriculture, it actually helps us
Yeah.
out, gives us more time to have sun out in the field. The soil will dry out quicker. People are actually able to work in the fields longer. Um, Pathogens will be less dominant in a system that has more sunlight and more heat. So switching over to me is better, because if we stayed when it's darker during the fall and the winter, there's way less time for people to get work done in the field.
Mm-hmm. So basically, what your feeling is it's all about being able to spend more time in the field, because really there's no more daylight. It's just they're changing an hour. The daylight's going to increase as the year goes on. For me, like personally, it's screws with my circadian rhythm really bad. I know some people it takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to get into that new time schedule and the new flow. Do you know anybody like that, Tony?
Basically, half of everybody that's alive will say that. But if you weren't staring at the clock all the time, you wouldn't know the difference. So,
True.
For me, daylight savings doesn't affect me as much as, say, something like jet lag. Like with jet lag, for me would be more pronounced than if we were dealing with daylight savings time. I've got messed up sleep time already, so my system doesn't even pay attention to it. But I understand where people are coming from with it. But for me, like, if you're looking at it through an agriculture standpoint, you want as much light as you can have in your garden to be able to do the work you need to do. Having less of it cuts down on productivity, cuts down on the amount of money you can make. It makes people that are working in your fields have to travel during darker times, which makes it more dangerous for people if they got to get up in the dark to come to work at 5, as opposed to having sunlight, because they did set the clock back, and now at 5 it's literally the sun's up higher in the atmosphere. So it's safer for them not only to drive to work, but to drive back home. So for
especially
me,
if you live in deer country where there's deer running across the road, it's always easier to see them in the daylight.
And everyone in my family has hit a deer, so it's a real fucking thing.
Oh yeah,
100%. It's not when are you going to hit, or if I'll hit a deer. It's when are you going to hit a deer where I'm at. Everybody out here is fucking ran into a deer, or a deer's ran into you, either way. But it's safer with the light up, I believe. And like I said, it's healthier for our garden to have that warmth that's coming along with it when the seasons change.
Mm-hmm.
So for a person that's looking at it in an economic sense, you'd want to have that extra hour of sunlight, I believe, or even more, because as the seasons change, not only are you getting summer and spring, which will bring more light, but setting that the clock correctly will help you utilize that time better.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is the way I look at it, because like we are not really, or in the old days we never changed time, but then we never followed a clock. It was just when the sun got up is when you got up and you went out into the field and did your work. Right. Having these set regular hours, I got to be there for 5 a.m. Was that ever the right mindset in a lot of ways when it comes to agriculture?
Well, the plant don't give a shit what time it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. If you're dealing with plants on a business level, you don't care what the clock says. You don't care if it's daylight savings forward or back. You're going to get up when you have the sunlight to do your work, or even earlier. Like farmers around here, them guys are up early as shit. They don't care if it's dark. They don't want to be working in the middle of the sun. Same with construction workers. Like out here in the summertime, it's 120 degrees just outside in the shade. So if you're outside working in the pavement or working on a construction site, you literally could die from that heat. So having that extra hour gives you the ability to save yourself and your coworkers.
Yeah.
I know it sucks to think of it as a way like it's affecting me personally, but like you said, our ancestors not having a clock didn't give a damn. If the sun was up, they was up.
Yeah.
They were going to work, they were getting it done, and they didn't complain and cry about it. They knew they had to do that to be able to survive. Today we
Yeah.
have the ability to um, think of it as a something that's disturbing us instead of looking at it as something that's actually helping us be more productive. At least that's how I feel about it. Like the more sun I can, more light I can work with, I'd be out in it. But I'm I'm up all night anyway, so I'm working in the nighttime. I'm working in the daytime. I'll put in the work whenever I can.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I'm the same way. Because of the jobs that I've had in the past, I generally work evenings and nights. Watch the sun go down, watch the sun come up, and then I was thinking about going to bed. So it's really on what we're used to, and I think it affects office workers, etc., a lot differently than it affects the farmer, the grower, because we're just this has to be done. This is the time that we do it. This because it's the time that we need to be with our plants, right?
Well, not just plants, but animals and everything. If you look at
Yeah.
it outside of the concrete jungle, you want to be out there doing shit. We're not nocturnal, so if the light's on, we want to be out there as a human, as the species. Most of what we
Yeah.
do is going to happen during the daylight. Our body gets vitamin D from the sun, so like the more exposure to it you have, the better. So it'll affect your circadian rhythm slightly, but if you know it's coming, like our ancestors did, they would already have adjusted themselves. They don't wait till the day that the clock clicks over to 5 and now it's 6. They were already practicing what was going to happen. They knew the season was coming. They knew from the way the moon was sitting in the atmosphere that we were going to have the change in season, and that change in season brings life. So I don't find negative in it myself. To me, it's just a clock, and the clock doesn't dictate anything. If I've got a job to do, I'm gonna go do it. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even wear a watch, right? I have it for decades, right? Because to me, time didn't really have a meaning other than if I had an appointment I had to be at, then I would be there. And there's John to say hi, guys. Hey, John.
How you doing, brother?
You're on mute, bro.
Hi, guys.
Your meeting hasn't quite started yet, John.
Pardon me?
You haven't started your other meeting?
Still doing things on stage together.
Okay.
I got that one on. They're just talking about stuff I already know because the advancements in what I know in regards to AI. So as we get into AI sprint and I start learning new tools, I can actually pass them on here. So it's just some basic stuff on what AI is, large language models. We all know what this stuff is, right?
Yeah.
So as we utilize AI and bring it into our gardens and bring it into our lives, I don't want to interrupt. So I should, say, hi guys, what was going on? What are you talking about?
We're talking about daylight savings time, whether it's good or bad, how it affects people and farmers differently than, people in their office towers.
We don't know everything.
Some days we don't know anything.
We don't know everything. Well, some things that we just don't know. But I was going to just say, hey, let's have some fun here. Let's ask, because I'm in here right now. I'm like, I can just go into my ChatGPT and go, what's up with daylight savings time? What's up with daylight savings time? See what it has to say. I'm kind of curious right now, so we can ask.
Well,
we're going somewhere. Daylight savings time, DST, is a practice used in parts of the world that our clocks are set forward and back. The main idea is to better use of the daylight during the evenings, therefore reducing the need of artificial light and saving energy. the specific is for days that can vary by countries, sometimes even by regions with countries. In this place, the concept has been both supported by and criticized over years. This is good. Despite the widespread of additional the future DST daily it is not set in stone. Some regions have stopped observing it while other countries debate it. For instance, Europe, and it goes on what it's about, and it's going to talk about the opinions based on it. Whatever or not, DST will continue in its current form remains to be seen, as attitudes of policies may evolve based on further research of public opinion. There you go.
Yeah, my opinion is we could lose it like Saskatchewan lost it, and I don't think it would make any real
No,
difference.
start with basic of advances. We need to
But
do
is
it.
Saskatchewan the leading production place in Canada? Is that where all the stuff that's getting done is getting done, or is that just out in the woods?
That's all farming. It's all
Well,
farming.
that's what I'm talking about. That's out in the woods. Them guys are getting up in the dark. They don't care. To them,
Yeah.
it don't matter. Where production's happening with business, economics, you need that extra time. That I mean, to look, we have to look at it within the system we're utilizing, not the one we wish we had, but the one we're actually using. Now, we wish we could all be out in the woods chilling and not have to deal with gas and smog and all this shit, but we have to have milk and we got to have eggs and we got to have meat. And that means somebody's got to get up fucking early and start driving, or someone's got to get outside and start busting their ass. And in reality, you have to utilize those hours when they come. It doesn't matter what we call it. They're going to get up and do it, just like the farmers out where you're at and where I'm at. These guys out here are up at 3 a.m. taking care of their animals. They don't care what the clock says. They're up because they have to be up.
Well, and that's the thing. Like a dairy farmer, the time might switch, but it doesn't matter. He just has to get up an hour earlier or an hour later because the cows aren't going to wait. They're set. Their rhythm is already set. He's just going to go do it because that's when it needs to be done. But I can see the point of the governments, etc., and the energy savings because we're not using the lights in our homes, etc., any earlier than we have to, or for longer in the evening than we have to. We're supposed to be going to bed earlier that hour, so I think that in a way is almost a better explanation than the farming explanation. Is our society now is more dependent on electricity and forms of using that electricity.
You can even think of other things like security wise, like in large cities, going to work in the dark is more dangerous than not. Sending people, especially in California, the way shit's going around these days, like you could get your ass beat up just from walking down the street because of the way these people are around here. And if you can't see someone coming, you're in danger. So I literally, you need to utilize that light when you can. Doesn't matter what the clock says. Like I would say, quit paying attention to time. Like you say, you don't wear a watch. A cowboy or farmer looks up in the sky and he knows when it's fucking noon by the way the sun's pointing in the sky or how the heat's hitting his back. He doesn't care what the fucking two hands on his wrist say. Like that, to him, it does not matter. Farmer, cowboy, construction worker, none of them cats, they don't give a damn. They'll work right through their lunch period. They just want to get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know when I was driving truck, I generally didn't even stop, for lunch. You just ate on the road because, you only made money when the wheels were turning and you didn't want to stop the wheels turning. Now, I like seeds to stems here. I have a friend who lives in one zone and works in another. So that's even more screwed up.
We could think of it as like cannabis growers. We utilize lighting schedules to make our plants do what we need to do. Some people will veg under 16 hours. Some veg under 18 hours. Some people veg under the 12-5-1-5 method. All of them work. It just, does it fit into your system? Is it more energy efficient for you? Are you going to save money? Like I say, it comes down to a business. The way you utilize your time is what's important, not what the neighbor's calling what you're doing.
Well, and are you running your 12 on cycle, over the dark hours because the power is cheaper, and then your staff has to be there at that time, so they're in the dark on both ends anyway. It's kind of a catch-22 that way.
Well, but with cannabis as a business, most people aren't going to be doing that. You're going to shut down
Yeah.
because it's business. Like they going home, you've got to work when business works. But as a home grower, that's completely different. We can set it up any way we want to, and as a business, you could do that also. Like some places, like up there where you guys are, there's places farther up there where there's not that much dark. You could work all the time, like if you wanted to. You can set your schedule whenever you feel like it. And that's what we should all be doing. Like it really doesn't matter if it's daylight savings or not. If I need to have my system set up, like I said, on the 12-5-1-5, something I would never utilize because I'm a breeder, and that will start to affect epigenetics. But if you're only growing plants, it's a way to save electricity every day. So you run your lights on at night, have your off periods in the daytime. It helps with cooling. It helps with the price of it. And because you're doing that, that can help you with the how much you're actually paying in the long run. You'd have a cheaper power bill running under that system than you would if you were running an 18 or 20-hour veg cycle, which can get you to flower faster, but it's going to cost you more. So if you're in a place where it's cheaper, you can do that. If you're in California, you don't turn your lights on 24 hours a day for shit unless you want to go broke as a business.
Yeah.
Cannabis. I mean, it's really rough. Even now, people are at stores, like they turn off a majority of the lighting. Back in the 80s, it would have all been on. They'd have turned everything on and left it on. The department stores had the lights on inside. Now everything's dark. And that's where the crime shit starts coming in. Like in the larger cities here, people are trying to take advantage of that dark period to commit crimes. And it's rampant in most of our large cities, at least in California. It's terrible, man. They're shutting down fast food places and shopping centers just because of the amount of crime that are in these areas. We're handling our system down here the way we should be, or we wouldn't have these problems.
Well, and the thing is the cost of power is, silly, but like I look at what's happening up here, the cost of my power, I pay more in taxes than I do in actual, metered power usage. It's fucking ridiculous. Hey guys, Stone and Pimp, how you guys doing today?
What's up?
So how does the audience feel about this time change every so many months in the spring and the fall? What do you guys think? Is it something that you like? Does it screw you up? John, you got your mute off, so you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I don't know. I get up at the same time. I got up when the clock went at 6, and I was like, oh, I'm getting up, and my body just naturally is archaic, so it really doesn't make a difference to the time. It's my time, right? So I mean, I might live a little differently, where I'm not scheduled to a clock. I'm scheduled to my own self and what I need to do, so the time doesn't really affect me. I'm like, oh wait, hey, it's still dark out. It's gonna get a little bit lighter at night. So I'm like, shit, it's still light out. What time is it, right? So, and I'm able to utilize my days more because I get more done because I don't sleep as much, right? And during the summer, I get lighter. It got cold, I was a little darker. I gained like 8 pounds. It got freezing out here. So our bodies naturally adapt to what we see, right? So that natural sunlight that gets up in the morning wakes us up. And as the days get longer, we'll start getting up more vibrant. And right now we're more vibrant at night because it's longer days. So it's actually waking ourselves up in a sense and giving us what we need, which is a longer day to get more things done because spring is around the corner. So, it's a natural way of saying, okay, we're out sowing the fields, getting things ready because we got to start planting pretty soon. So we're getting those days that are longer so we can actually work at those longer days. So I appreciate it. And in the summer when it gets hotter out, I can work in the morning because I don't want to be outside cold in the morning, right? So maybe it's just a way of being able to reflect on and take a look at what we gained from it and look at the gains. I'm not staying in the gap. That's all it is. I look at all the gains I'm getting from it. So you can hear I'm looking at all the gains I'm getting from these time zones and reflecting my day. So I don't, that's how I feel. I look at the gains that I'm getting from it and the reasons why these times are affecting my daily rituals. There you go. In a nutshell. Stay in the game, not the gap. So why worry about how it's affecting you and how it is affecting you? Stay in the gains and how it's benefiting your day and utilize those gains that you're getting from it. Because we're getting a gain from it, aren't we? That's the way we got to look at it. And that's just my hypothesis, my hallucination of how it gains my day every day by looking at the gain I'm getting from that time change because it gave me some gains.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nature's the same way. Look at animals. And when the switch happens naturally, they're up earlier. They're doing shit.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast. If you're alive, the sun's telling you to do stuff. It's a phenotypical expression that changes in the human. As soon as you got more light, you want to start doing more shit. That's why in the winter you're more bored, you're more depressed, you're locked in the house. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's dreary. In the springtime, you want to go do things. Everything's active. The birds are outside chirping. Like, we're fighting the feeling, trying to not deal with it. Just because someone gave it a name we don't like is what kind of way I feel like it. And the more you're less in charge of what you're doing, like if you're busting your ass for the next motherfucker and you hate it, you're gonna hate daylight savings times because it's fucking with you. If you're the guy running that shit, you want it to happen. You want people there. You want work done. You want to get it going. The more you have your shit together, the less likely the time change is going to affect you or anything out there. The more you're going to enjoy the journey you're on when you're in charge of the journey. So, it's more about trying to find the path that you want to be on, that you don't care if the time changes and there's more light for you to have to deal with shit than to get stuck in the same path that you're in, because that's really the basis of what's wrong. Everything else out there, like the birds start chirping way earlier. Those light up, they're up. That's just how it works. They may not call it daylight savings, so they not spring forward and spring back, but literally they're springing forward earlier. Like they're up.
Yeah. Well, the sun's coming up earlier. They're responding to it. But I like what Stone Din put here. Went to my grow yesterday and panicked. Of course, if you're not thinking about the daylight savings and all of a sudden it's like, why aren't my lights on? What's going on? I could see the panic happening in that. So you ever had that experience, Tony, where you forgot it was daylight savings? And
this morning I was looking at my clock going, what the fuck is this clock fucking wrong over here, dude? Because I was going to go cook my mom breakfast and I have to give her fucking meds at 8 a.m. And I'm like, what is going on here, dude? Why are all these digital clocks fucking changed except the ones that I have to do manually? Like my coffee pot and my stove and shit. All those were an hour different. I'm going, we just had the time change, didn't we? So that's what I mean. It didn't affect me anyway. I was already up doing shit, period. And because the sun's popping up and where my mom sleeps, she's going to wake up earlier naturally because the sun's in her face. So
now, do you change her medication time, Tony? Because now
she's still getting it at the same damn time. She gets it 3 times a day, every 8 hours. I'm not changing jack shit. She missed 1 hour, and when she was sleeping, that sleep was good for her. Like waking her up to give her a pill sometimes isn't the best thing. She'll wake up and never go back to sleep just to give her an aspirin, right? So I'll wait sometimes.
Yeah.
So no. I don't change it that bad at all. No.
Okay,
Now
so
it would change if it was at a hospital or a nursing home, because everyone coming in at a different time naturally because of the way the system's working here now. She would have got her medication at a different time, but they would have done the same thing. They wouldn't have gave it to her that hour early. They would have made her wait, because if it's an 8-hour medication, more than likely you ain't getting it for 9 or 10 hours if you're in a facility like that. Like half the time you don't get your meds on time unless it's on a fucking button or intravenous. You're shit out of luck in those places. So my mom missing 1 hour, it didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's like I take my medication, on a set schedule because, I have to. And the 1 hour time change, I just, change to the new time. It's okay. This is the new time. And just continue taking it and move forward. But, we're talking about the nature and the animals, they don't have clocks. They don't give any care in the world about, anything called a clock. They just go by the natural rhythm of nature, and the sun being up earlier, they're getting up earlier. And their rhythm is changing naturally, where I look at what we're doing with daylight savings as really a forcing of that onto the people more than something that if we weren't following time it would just come naturally into our flow.
We can't have it happen naturally. Like the reason, like you said, guy out in Saskatchewan is like, it doesn't matter. He's out in nature. It's dark at the right time. When you live in a city, there is no right time. The fucking lights are on 24/7. The shit's moving around 24. No one goes to sleep. So everyone's circadian rhythms fucked up. So making them do this is basically making you go back to your ancestry of when you would have done this naturally. Like the farther you get out from a city, the more you're going to time yourself with nature, period. Right? You have to force people in the fucking cities to do this shit because, like, again, it comes down to civilization, economics, business. The only reason you're living in a giant city is so you can be part of the rat race. You're not there to relax and calm down, or you would be out in the fucking woods where you can calm the fuck down. You cannot do that in a city, not on a long-term basis. Like, you're going to go to sleep, you got to wake up, and now you got to bust your ass moving at the pace of that city, or you're going to be left behind. That's just civilization in a nutshell, especially when we start to use the capitalization system where we have to profit off of every last ounce of fucking shit we can find. So that's why we do this. Like, we don't care if you'd like to sleep an extra hour. We need to be productive. It's a business. You decided to work for us. We didn't go enslave you. Like, you came and got the job. So now it's part of the system. That's what it's all about. People are pissed off at the system they've chosen. And that's why I say, find the path that makes you happy, and you won't care about the rest of that shit. It won't matter. You'll be up when the sun's up, and you won't care what or who called it what, because it is. Naturally, we would have gotten up with the sun. If we didn't, we wouldn't have made it. We became tribal people that we learned how to farm. We learned how to track fucking the sun. We learned how to track the moon. Like, literally, it's part of our evolution to utilize this system. The reason we don't like it and we're fighting it is because we literally don't like the system we're in. It sucks.
Well, I never liked looking at my watch and going, "Oh, I got to be here," but this time, and it's like I was always more of a natural. The flow is where I wanted to be.
That's where we all want to be, but we can't have a capitalistic system if that's what we do. We can't we're never going to be able to profit off of all of us not trying to make profits. The system will fail. So, like, we fucked up. I don't know when, but it was a long time ago, and we just keep doing it over and over. And like, we're bitching about the shit that we've accepted. Like, everyone's mad about taxes. Again, we're a capitalistic society. That's what it's for. You ain't never going to change it until you decide to quit fucking with the dollar bill. That's it. In whatever form of currency you want to have that's printed, that's made up, you're always going to be a slave to it. If you decide that your currency is your neighbor and his skills, he or she's skills, a family has something that they can offer you and you have something to return back, now you're going to be happy. You're not going to care about anything other than happiness, because that's all there will be. But right now, all we're doing is trying to get in where we fit in so we can get that last red cent. That's the whole fucking system that we've decided on. And until you can release yourself from that system, we're not going to do it in a hole. The only way out of this shit is to devalue pennies and learn to value what's around you. And you'll learn in a city, you're not going to be happy with the fucking little tiny walls around you. You're going to want to leave and go out and be part of nature.
Yeah. Well,
you want to go live in a tiny tent somewhere, dude. It'll make you happier.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to be part of a community that supports each other. And in the city, that doesn't happen in the city.
And you could do it in the city, but on a smaller scale. You're not going to do everything. But like, there could be community gardens. This will teach you that what you're doing is the problem. When you enter, like, you bring some nature into a cityscape and you allow kids and the people in that area to grow their own food, a percentage every year will leave. They're going to go homestead. They're going to go grow their own food. They're going to, like, when somebody literally hears their own child say, that's where milk comes from. Like, you're going to realize you're doing it all wrong. Like I've
Yeah.
met kids that didn't know bacon came from a pig,
Mhm.
like literally, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. We're disconnected from our reality because we're trying to fit into a system that's not really that real. It's
Mhm.
it's not happiness, man. I mean, you can
Yeah.
feel happy in it, but it's not for everybody. That's why so many
Yeah.
people break away from society. You form groups, like Ken said, with
Yeah.
like-minded people, and you're happy. You only put value on your family and your friends and places and things around you, like the waterfall you go to in the summertime. It's not yours, but you utilize it, and that's what makes you happy. And your friends
Yeah.
come and use it. That's that's where we need to go back to, instead of all
Yeah.
this trying to separate within a prison cell, man. Like we got ourselves locked away in these little tiny boxes. We don't
Mhm.
want to listen to our neighbor or talk to our neighbor or even run into our neighbor. We don't even want to see ourselves eventually. How many times do you hear someone say, "My circle's so small, I'm not even in it," right? Why? We never would have got here with that attitude as our ancestors. You have to be able to trust the person next to you. You should want to do that. When they lose the ability to be able to be trusted, that's where you had like banishment, so that the person
Yeah.
that fucked up had to learn, not us. Like we were doing it right, man. But this dude wants to eat all the corn and shit and fucking burn down all the houses. You got to go, brother. That's not gonna work. You go
Yeah.
do that shit on your own.
Yeah.
We've lost that too. Like we just have forgotten how to be human, and every part of society just eats at us.
Mhm.
We just got to try to fit some of nature back into it, and you'll feel way better. We should all
Well,
understand that everyone watching here probably grows cannabis or has. Did you feel better doing so?
yeah.
Well, of course you
Huh?
did. It gave you dopamine hits and gave you joy because it gave you progress. Progress gives you happiness. It gives you joy. That's how you get life. That's why we love growing it. It gives us our 6 human needs.
Mhm.
Like, it
And
gives.
that's a monocropping that you did. Imagine if you brought in as many plants as you could from nature and grew them in your place, and you didn't just care about weed. Like I'm telling you, your day is surrounded by fresher air. Everything around you is cleaner. You're
Yeah.
happier. You're more calm. I'm telling you, you show your child how to grow a tomato plant, and they eat some spaghetti sauce or a pizza from that tomato. They'll
It's
grow for the rest of their life.
you know what? Amen.
Yeah.
We need
100%.
to give people that opportunity to grow their own and see what they get from it with the nutrition. It's not only that, it's the value that you get from the growth. When you see that development, when you get the progress, when you can actually look at how it's actually ability to get that joy, and it gives you lessons, and that's how we learn. Because if you don't fail, you don't learn, and you go through that in life and you watch the growth and what you get from it. It's growing anything. I grew up as growing plants and growing tomatoes and all of that. That's how I started growing. I didn't just
Mhm.
try cannabis. I mean, I did in 1988. But before that, I was growing on the farm. We had farm animals. We grew our own food. It was just adapted. And, at 8 years old, I see someone growing some plant outside, an
Yeah.
animal. And I was like, hey, how do I do this? And, of course, at the age, I started growing very young, extremely young. We are like 88. But it was the growth of the food that got me to where I got to grow today. And we keep advancing with that.
Well, knowledge is power, and like I know, I grew up, growing organically on
Well,
the farm.
power is learning.
Yeah.
Learning. That's where the power comes from the failures that you possess, and learning from other people's knowledge and the books that they read or what they offer as in mentorship, because leaders lead leaders. And that's the best way of looking at it, is you take a look. Because, I mean, I learned from the people that I'm mentoring. I learn from those because they become like with Paul, like everybody who becomes your mentor, you become better than that mentor because you're learning their skills and you have new skills on top of that. And we all help each other learn. So it's finding the people that are more knowledgeable and have the knowledge to give you so you can pass it on to others. So hang out with people who have tons of knowledge that are in your field of expertise that you want to learn. I'm learning OpenAI. It's right in front of me. They're talking about knowledge I already know about posing a script and how to actually custom prompt things and how to actually talk to ChatGPT and how to utilize the tools that it's been giving to you. We do the same thing with growing. We talk about the tools that helped us from growing, from blending different strains, from one hit with a one hit hitter.
One hitter quitter.
One hitter quitter. Thank you. I love that straight. I was saying it wrong right now because I'm paying attention here in those same times. And as you can see, I'm educating here, learning here, passing on the knowledge, because the story behind it is a storyline that you give it and how you present it, right? So just grow those plants. I have house plants, I have outdoor food plants, and I have medicinal plants. I have all plants. I have cactuses. I got everything. Of course I do.
Well, because growing plants in themselves is medicinal, just your interaction with the plants, with the biology in the soil, if you get your fingers in the soil,
because you've altered your environment. We got to think of it as the cannabis growers we are. You were changing your phenotypical expression by putting plants that weren't there in there. Yeah. It's going to slow your system down. There's going to be a new version of you that slowly shows up. Mm-hmm. The more you slow yourself down from that rat race, a whole different version of you is going to show up. You're probably going to like it more.
Well, yeah, and like you were saying, you get out into nature, you get out into the homestead, and you throw your watch away, because it's when the sun comes up is when you're getting up and doing things, and you're going to bed when the sun goes down, because you got to be up when the sun gets up again.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, and it's
why smoking the one hitter quitter? He has it.
Oh, cool. So, we're talking about daylight savings, whether it's good or bad. And it's kind of a catch-22. In some ways it's good. In some ways it's a pain in the ass. Overall, I think we can all agree that in some ways it is good for, the system we live in. And in some ways it's bad because of the system we live in.
Yeah.
But then that's good for everything, right?
It's perspective, the way you look at it. Yeah. Like it literally is. It's utilized for the system we've decided on. But if you went out in nature, if no one told you, you'd still get up.
Yeah.
You got up because your system would have noticed. It wasn't one day that it happened. It happened over a period of time. You realized that you were getting an extra 15 minutes of light a day. Your system understood this because you were in the area, you were in the atmosphere, that you were in that environment. You will pick up on things. Only the most, you got to be you'd have to be dead to not pick up on shit once you're in nature for long enough time. You'll know when the birds are getting up, which ones get up first. You'll know when the coyotes start howling. You know when the deer are going to come rolling in. You'll understand what's happening out there. You can wake up every morning and know that you're going to have a woodpecker at a specific time every morning, period. As soon as the temperature hits and the light hits, that fucker's out. That's just how it works. Right? You look at bees. Bees know what's up. If it's over 72 degrees, I think bees are out doing shit. They're out getting shit done, period.
Yeah. The bees have to be at the warmer temperature, where wasps can actually start at a lower temperature. Their bodies start working. A bee will literally freeze up and not be able to move at the colder temperature. And then once the sun warms it up, then it can start flying again.
Start moving, yep.
Yeah. I've actually watched a wasp clean a bee, steal all of its honey off of its body and all of its pollen, not eating it, because wasps will eat bees.
Yeah.
It just cleaned the bee up and flew away. And as the sun came up, the bee started being able to move, and off it went. So let's see what we got here.
Billy, wait, what?
Ghost of Boneyard Sea.
Do you have the Ghost of Boneyard?
Wait.
That's my Ghost OG back cross one. I'm sending you some of those, Ken. They're in the pack that I'm sending you.
Oh, cool.
That's just straight up gas. I'm sending you the it's called Amazing, AMHAZING. It's a ghost of Candida, which is a CBD dominant mom cross
Okay.
to the ghost of Boneyard. So it's something that's I'm trying to bring more gas into a potential CBD with selection in there. You could find something that will do that specifically. There's the I sent you the ghost of Candida, which is the seeds from the mom that I tested out here. That's a high CBD line. They're
Mhm.
CBD dominant. There's some of those. And then there's two crosses using that. One's to the Ghost of Boneyard and one's to Space Tiva.
Cool. And
The
did you
Space
send me one
Tiva.
hitter quitter?
Yeah, I'm gonna put those in there. I haven't sealed it up yet. It
Hey,
wasn't done. I was filling all kinds of orders.
you're a busy guy, Tony, and anybody that wants Tony's seeds, oh geez, I'm drawing a blank. It was right there and it was gone. Uh, where can they get your seeds again, Tony?
Dogger Garden.
Daga. That's it.
Dogger Garden. Hit up Dogger Garden. They carry my gear. Every seldom, once in a while, seeds here and now. Also, we'll have my stuff. And,
Cool.
You can always hit me directly.
Yeah. And that's one of the things and you know, it's the medical that we're concerned with. It's not just, you know, that's why we don't sit here like most shows do and, you know, get higher and higher and higher, because that's not the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show is education in every form, not just in growing plants, but in growing animals and growing ourselves, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally. It's all a synergistic relationship with the plants, with the time of day, with that sun, with nature, with the bees, with breathing in, you know, the breath of fresh air that you can't get into your regular city. Okay, what did that say? I missed it.
Oh, he didn't clone the Ghost of Boneyard, and he says it's the best weed he's ever smoked, hands down, ever. I keep telling
Oh,
everyone
cool.
it's good ass weed, but yeah, get at me, Billy, and fucking we'll take care of you, man. I got the Ghost of Boneyard F1s. I got Ghost of Boneyard F2s. I've got Straight Ghosted, which is a back cross number 2. There's the Ghost of Boneyard crossed to the Straight Ghosted, so it's a Ghost OG back cross 2 to Ghost OG back cross 1. I did it to the Kim 91, the Kim D, the Kim 4, Trinity, a headband, Bubba Kush. Let's see, what else did I hit with that? The Bruce Banner number 3, Gorilla Glue number 4, GMO. What else? Cherry Pie. I
No, that's
believe
a lot
that's
of different
everything.
strains.
And then I back crossed with 5 of them to the original father. So I'm working on those right now. Oh yeah, and the one hitter quitter. I did 2 crosses. The one hitter quitter with the Ghost of Boneyard using 2 different females. And then
Okay.
right now I'm doing a reversal, which is a feminized back cross with the one hitter quitter. Cross to all those to the Ghost of Boneyard crosses. And then I'm doing the same thing over here with the Pure Kush. The Pure Kush is hitting the Ghost of Boneyard, the Ghost of Headband, the Ghost of Star Dog, the Totally Haze, the Ghost of Candida, Pure Kush, and Mac 1 Space Cheese, and Yondi, which is a Bubba Kush Angel cross to the one hitter quitter.
Cool. So lots of new stuff coming out, guys, that you're going to want to check out. So that sounds fantastic. And I'm looking forward to, you know, the CBD, because I've never had any true CBD strains. I only had the high THC strains. So I don't know how that's going to affect my body, and I'd like to find out.
Well, there's a few. I don't know if Manderson's in here. Manderson's been running it, and he loves that smoke. It's the Ghost of Candida. Corey has it also. I sent it out to Corey. He's got my clone. Who else was smoking it? There's a few people that are smoking that, and they're different chemistry. is actually it works very well for them.
Mhm.
For me, CBD doesn't. It's more antagonistic on my system, the way I feel. But a lot of people, it's extremely good when it's mixed in there, and that's anywhere from, you can find things anywhere from like 5 to 1 to 1 to 1 in those. They're CBD dominant through DNA sequencing that I did on them.
Okay. Cool.
So
Cool.
the
I'll look
mom
forward.
should be more CBD than THC, but then I sent you 2 crosses that are with THC. So those could be 2 to 1, like with THC to CBD. So you can get a gauge of something, like if you do use it. The higher CBD for some people with just a small amount of THC seems to work very well for them. It's
Well, and
good
then
for
it's a
animals
lot.
too.
Yeah, a lot for what I or how I consume the cannabis that I consume, because I'm, decarboxylating it, grinding it, and putting it in gel caps. I'm not smoking. So I want to see what or if there is different effects from the different strains on my body for how I feel.
Mhm.
And that's basically what breeding it really is about, especially if you're doing personal stuff. It's okay, I like the flavor on this one, but I like the effect of this one, so I'm going to breed the two together and see if I can come up with a combination of the two that works for my body. And that's what breeding is really, looking for the medical side, is what's going to work for different people's bodies and their body types. Have you found a lot of variety in, you know I don't want to use the term colors, but in African American compared to Native American compared to white, the different colors, because we're all genetically different. Have you seen any correlations in that zone, Tony?
Not really, because cannabis has evolved in so many different areas,
Okay.
and it's been worked so many different ways. It's like, in its natural form, you're going to get all colors of the rainbow. In the
Yeah.
forms that we are working with, they've all been steered in some way or form through human contact. Even the baselines we're all using, if the Afghanis that came in here from the 50s and 60s, those were being steered by people that were utilizing them for hash production in those areas or for fiber production. Those were
Yeah.
not wild ecotypes, even though they were landrace. They were landrace because someone actually turned them into what they wanted. And we took those and then did the same thing. And that's why today we have such a narrow gene pool of cannabis, because basically we took everything and just kept narrowing down the selection. We've forced what's called founder's effect on cannabis, basically, to where the point it almost doesn't want to. It wouldn't make it anywhere. Like half the plants we've selected for, like a lot of the OGs, those things would break off in nature the way they grow inside. They would not survive very well. Some of the plants that like if you put an autoflower on the equator, it may not get big enough to reproduce after a long enough time. Animals will come through and start to eat it, and the seed stock will be depleted, and it wouldn't work. Right? It's got to be in an
Natural
area where that can grow all the time through natural selection. So, like, the only thing that we can see is we have to research the breeding that's been done to it. It's like if you get a sweet 100 tomato or if you get a purple Cherokee tomato, they both came from the same thing, but somebody has steered them into that one direction. And you can see that, like with some purples, you'll have the higher anthocyanins or carotenoids, etc. They do have a medicinal effect. But as cannabis consumers, most of us are utilizing it for the mind alteration effect. And we're not utilizing those anthocyanins the way we smoke them. From nothing that I've seen has shown that like smoking a strain that's purple has a different effect, like on your lungs or something, than a green one. That would be something cool to read about. I've never found nothing like that. So unless you get into actually utilizing the anthocyanins or the carotenoids that are in there, those things ate or ingested,
Mhm.
Then you can start to see different correlations to the different colors of the cannabis. You can actually steer, like if you were drinking and juicing in the morning, you
Right.
could utilize purple cannabis and yellow and orange cannabis to get different anthocyanins and flavonoids into the drink that you're drinking beyond just chlorophyll.
Right. Now, do you know of much research leading that direction?
No, because cannabis has been so illegal and is just becoming something that they can actually research and get funding
Mhm.
for. There hasn't really been much towards that. Everything seems to be going towards how to breed and steer this plant because they everyone seems to think it's going to do something different than other higher plants. In general, it does the same thing. It repeatedly will do the same thing. That's where they keep finding, but they don't have that research to back up the business that's going to come with it. So that's why they're getting the money now to research to be able to say that this can do that, and then that's going to be utilized into a product, and that's what's coming. They're going to be able to replace different like inflammatory drugs that they're over the counter. They'll be adding that to the pill, right? And now you're paying for cannabinoids that could be processed any way besides the way we grow them today. They
Yeah.
can actually grow these cannabinoids off of algae.
Yeah.
Right? They have algae trays filled with milk, and the algae is able to, through enzymatic action, produce like over 100 different cannabinoids at one time. Unlike cannabis, like your cultivar isn't going to produce as many cannabinoids as they can actually, with CRISPR, force something to produce the way they want it to. Now they can patent that, and that's how they're going to get around what's coming in business that's coming. They don't want to grow their OG or a Bubba Kush. They're going to want to grow something that they can patent the way they're doing it so that they can get paid off of that system or sell that system. Like that, you can look at the Chinese, they've got over 300 patents for different ways to actually grow cannabis, process cannabis, all through hemp and stuff. They own over half of the patents that are on this plant already. Then that's what's coming when this plant gets rescheduled worldwide. When everyone decides we can use this to replace everything, the money's going to change hands so fast and in different directions than we are here today. If you're not ahead of that curve and understand it coming, you're going to lose out. Like they're going to replace everything from paper to plastics. It's going to be our energy source. Our cars will be made out of this stuff. Like they're going to utilize cannabis in every shape and form once they can monetize it worldwide.
Well, and John and I were talking, on one of the other shows about your SOPs, and it's those SOPs or the patents, your system that you're going to be selling, in the future, if you want to sell it, but it's those standard operating procedures of how you do things that, patents are based on, and that's where it's going to end up being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And it's coming.
That's just the nature of the beast. And we just it started in small places where they wanted their right to have a plant. That was the great thing, right? We awakened, we changed our environment, and things became better for everybody. And then when we wanted to fucking brand up and start selling all this shit to each other, instead of, again, teaching someone how to grow a tomato, we'd rather sell you a fucking tomato because of capitalism. That's where we done fucked up. And cannabis is headed in that direction. So what everybody's doing is trying to find a place to profit off what's coming because they were smoking weed. And that's the worst place to start. You need to go and get educated on a system that's going to be replaced. You need to understand what's coming. Not just that I smoke weed, I'm going to be good at this shit. Because if you're not good at business outside of smoking weed, you're shit out of luck. Like just being able to get high is not the best thing for us at the moment. Like right now, we should be smoking the weed, but that should be in the background. We should be trying to figure out how to leapfrog what's coming as a group, not as singular entity, because that's what was here with recreational cannabis. Basically, each one of us was trying to brand up to sell our version of this stuff. and
Yeah.
they understand that everybody's trying to buy it. So why don't we sell it to them? And instead of us seeing that and understand what's coming, we want to be part of whatever's left selling shit to each other. We need to try to take this plant back from them. We need to demand our right to be able to grow a plant. It's nothing more than a tomato plant. It's an aloe vera plant. This is a lemon tree. There is nothing different from this than anything else. And if we cannot grow it as a choice, if you want to go buy it, fine. But if I want to grow it, I should have that right. It doesn't mean I need to have fucking hundreds and hundreds of acres of weed, but I should be able to grow at least enough for me to utilize what I need in a year's period. If I've only got one season to do that, then I should be able to grow the amount of plants that will give that to me.
Well, it's always comes down to the money.
Like, teach them how to like set up systems where you can teach people how to grow. Get paid for that knowledge, not for the fruit.
Yeah. And that's where, the biggest profits in today's society is having that knowledge that you can sell. And the more knowledge, the higher price point you bring, and John, we talk about it all the time, every day, about the value you bring is the knowledge that you're bringing into the conversation. And that might be worth $10 billion, for an hour conversation, because that's how much capital is going to be invested into what you're telling people about.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's like, having you on, Tony, where, you've got the scientific, you've read the white papers, you bring them up. It's having that knowledge that is so valuable, for, myself, for the community as a whole, and John as well. It's that knowledge that you're willing to share, that brings people up to that next level where they can, proceed for their own medical benefit for growing this plant and any other plant. You could be growing, how many thousands or hundreds of plants are listed in a herbalist book. If you're growing all those plants, it's all plant medicine. And that's all cannabis is another form of plant medicine.
And just look, we grow cannabis, and then next to it, we want to grow like rosemary and thyme and chives, so we can take that and put it into the fermentation to use it as a bug repellent. That's a direct plant medicine. Like you're utilizing nature to fight against nature. That's what nature does. That's what I mean. Like if you were out there, you'd see this happening. You'd know that something stops ants, because you'd go around, you'd see ants, and eventually you'd see somewhere there is an ants. And the inquisitive humans eventually try to figure out what's around them. They don't just exist in it. That's why we're as smart as we are. That's why we've been able to get to the moon, and why we're trying to get to Mars. Like the great apes ain't going to ever do this shit in any type of time frame that anyone will recognize. So the fact that the life form that we are has the ability to do the things that we can do, and we would rather just sit there staring at memes, like it's crazy. We are de-evolving in this every second we do that shit. We didn't get here trying to just sit on our ass and do nothing and be angry about everything around us. We wanted to be part of nature. We wanted to be in charge of nature. That's why we started farming. Like the food that was there could not keep the humanity alive that we have today. That's why we had to come up with farming. But then we start going back against it by, instead of teaching farming, we're going to give you a seed that'll grow after you spray everything around it with this fucking pesticide that'll kill everything. That's not farming, right? And now you give them something that's not going to grow as much nutrition. It's going to kill fucking the area around it.
John, you're off mute. What's going on?
I'm just going. I got like a 3-minute time frame here. I'm in here. Now I'm going into another one and really learning about all this, listening to you guys, and then be able to actually kind of pass on the same knowledge that we're all expressing. So I'm waiting for this next, virtual conference. We go from one. Isn't this a beautiful? Well,
your Mondays is your Sundays. You're not supposed to be working. It's Sunday, man. What the hell?
I know something happened there. They said you're not allowed to do that anymore because I can stay at home. But what I have been doing now is utilizing all the skills that we have and be able to take it to the next level, right? And get that true growth, what we're doing. So new books, new going on, Germany, what we can do around the world. We have these abilities now with these tools to actually really affect and help so many people. And that's what's happening here right now. I'm learning from the best so I can offer the same advice,
Yeah.
you know. In a
Well,
sense,
you're becoming an OG just in a different subject, brother.
it's all based on cannabis. Like I said, I've got over a dozen custom chat GTPs and what these are and exactly what I've created and stuff like that we put down there. These are ways of being able to really putting extensions onto power of leverage to be able to define the dot with a bigger power, be able to actually express that. So it's really about how we design it by how we talk to the large language model and how you learn this language or bot language. And once you understand that, like I do, because I've created several different custom chatbots related to strain specifics and how they grow and how their medicinal effects, be able to look up those large language models to go into like seedfinder.eu and all around the world and take all of that knowledge and put it into a nice one little strainpedia to give you the information that we're all looking for. And then now we can actually collaborate and find those different unique things by asking the right questions, and you're going to get the exact answer because it's like anything. Everybody lies, everybody has a different opinion or a different way. So it's how you word it to get what you're looking for, and then it expresses what you want. It's kind of fun.
Well, and you're taking it to a totally different level with the knowledge that you've learned, and you're going to be offering this to people.
I'm putting the sequence into the LLM, right? I'm putting a sequence in my sequence, what I've been able to attain, and look at the context of the users and how we've been able to get that there. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, guys, we're at the hour, so we're going to bounce, and we'll catch you guys later this afternoon. We have a fantastic guy coming on this afternoon talking about cranberries, using fish brew with cranberries. Some of the results are absolutely out of this world. You guys are going to want to check out the farming of cranberries and the different methodologies and what's going on with the biology that they're using to grow these amazing cranberries. So that's this afternoon with Leighton Morrison. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. Peace out, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace, guys.